You know, when it comes to love and relationships, most of us are trained to look for the big gestures. The flowers, the romantic dinners, the sweet words. But here's the truth. Those things, while beautiful, don't always tell you what's really going on inside someone's heart. What truly matters isn't just if a man desires you physically, it's if he desires you emotionally. Because when a man is falling for you on an emotional level, his behavior changes in ways that can't be faked. His energy around you is different, his choices are different, and suddenly it's not about impressing you, it's about connecting with you. And today, I want to break down the 5 clear signs that a man isn't just interested in you for the moment, but is actually falling for you in a way that could last. When a man begins to fall for you emotionally, one of the clearest signs you'll notice is that he starts prioritizing your emotional well-being over his own convenience. Think about that for a moment, because it's not just about him doing nice things or showing affection when it suits him. This goes deeper. This is about him putting your feelings, your comfort, and your sense of peace above what's easiest or most beneficial for himself. That shift reveals something powerful. He's not only interested in what he can get from you, but in how he can give to you. When someone is only casually interested, they'll often measure interactions based on their own comfort. They'll call you when they're bored, text you when it's convenient, or spend time with you when it fits easily into their schedule. But when a man is emotionally invested, that entire dynamic changes. Suddenly, your needs matter. Your happiness becomes something he actively considers in his decisions. If you've had a hard day, he won't just brush it off or distract you with something superficial. He will want to be present with you, to support you, and to ease that weight from your shoulders. You'll notice it in small, everyday gestures. Maybe he stays up late to listen to you when he's already tired because he knows you need to talk. Maybe he takes the long way home just to drop you off safely, even if it's inconvenient for him. Maybe he makes an effort to adjust his plans because he realizes you're going through something that requires his presence. These are not grand, dramatic gestures, they are quiet choices that reflect where his heart truly lies. This doesn't mean he suddenly loses himself or sacrifices everything just to please you. Emotional connection isn't about a man abandoning his identity. It's about him creating space in his life where your feelings matter as much as his own. The balance shifts from me to us, and when that shift happens, you feel it. You feel more secure because his actions show you that you're not just an option, but a priority. What's powerful here is that prioritizing your emotional well-being is often inconvenient. It takes effort. It requires him to notice when you're struggling, even if you don't say it directly. It requires him to slow down, to put aside distractions, and to be intentional about making sure you feel seen and cared for. That level of effort is not something a man gives lightly. It's not about surface-level attraction, it's about emotional depth. There's also a subtle vulnerability that comes with this. When he starts to prioritize your emotional needs, he's essentially admitting that your happiness affects his own. He's no longer insulated in his own world, he's connected to yours. If you're hurting, he feels it. If you're joyful, he feels it. This interdependence is the root of emotional intimacy, and it's one of the strongest signs that he's falling for you. And you can see it not just in how he shows up during the easy moments, but especially in the difficult ones. When there's a disagreement, does he brush it off because it's easier to avoid tension? Or does he lean in, take the time to understand your perspective, and work toward a resolution that honors your emotions? That choice, to prioritize resolution and your sense of safety over simply escaping discomfort, tells you exactly where his heart is. The truth is, anyone can buy flowers, Anyone can say sweet words. Anyone can play the part of the charming partner for a while. But the man who consistently chooses to put your emotional well-being above what's convenient for him, that's the man who is showing signs of genuine emotional desire. That's the man whose love is not fleeting, but growing into something much deeper and far more meaningful. When a man is falling for you emotionally, one of the most revealing signs is when he begins to open up about his fears, dreams, and insecurities. This is not something men do casually. In fact, many men are conditioned to hide their vulnerabilities, to appear strong, in control, and unshaken. But when he starts letting you see the parts of himself that he usually keeps hidden from the world, that is a sign that he not only trusts you, but also desires a deeper emotional connection with you. Think about it. Anyone can share the polished version of themselves. Anyone can talk about their achievements, their funny stories, or their charming side. That's easy. But to share the raw, unfiltered side, the doubts that keep him awake at night, the dreams he's too scared to tell anyone else, the insecurities he hides even from his closest friends, that requires courage, and more importantly, it requires emotional investment. A man doesn't reveal those things unless he feels safe with you, unless he sees you as someone he wants to build something real with. You may notice this shift in small, unexpected moments. Maybe he tells you about a time in his childhood that shaped him, something he's never told anyone else. Maybe he admits that he sometimes feels insecure about his career, his body, or whether he's truly enough. Or maybe he shares a vision of the future that feels almost too personal to put into words, like the kind of life he secretly hopes to create one day. When he's opening up like this, he's not just talking, he's inviting you into his inner world. This kind of openness also shows you that he's not playing a role in your relationship. He's not trying to maintain an image of perfection. Instead, he's saying, "This is me, fully, not just the parts that are impressive, but the parts that are fragile." And when a man does that, it's because he wants to be seen by you, not just admired, not just desired, but truly seen. That's emotional intimacy, and it's one of the strongest indicators that he's falling. Another important thing to notice is that this level of openness often comes gradually. At first, he might test the waters with small admissions, something light, maybe a fear that doesn't feel too risky. But as he begins to sense that you don't judge him, that you're someone who listens and accepts, he'll share more. This progression is crucial because it shows that he's not only learning to trust you, but also making a conscious choice to let you in deeper. That's not a choice men make with just anyone. And when he talks about his dreams, pay attention. Sharing his aspirations with you isn't just about telling stories, it's about revealing his vision for the future. Dreams are deeply personal because they expose both hope and vulnerability. By opening up to you about them, he's signaling that he sees you as someone who could possibly be part of that future, or at least someone worthy of knowing the truth about what he wants most in life. What makes this so powerful is that it goes against the instinct many men have to protect themselves emotionally. It's not easy to admit insecurities or fears, because that means risking judgment or rejection. So when a man chooses to do this with you, it's because he values your understanding more than he fears your reaction. It's because your opinion, your presence, and your acceptance matter that much to him. Ultimately, when he starts opening up about his inner world, it changes the tone of your relationship. You're no longer just sharing experiences on the surface. You're connecting on a level that creates true intimacy. And intimacy isn't built from grand gestures. It's built from moments like these, when one person dares to reveal themselves and the other chooses to receive them with care. That's the beginning of an emotional bond that goes far beyond attraction. When a man is falling for you emotionally, one of the most telling signs is that he actively remembers the little details that matter to you. At first glance, this might seem like a small thing, but in reality, it speaks volumes about how much space you occupy in his mind and heart. Because remembering details isn't about having a good memory, it's about caring enough to pay attention. It's about valuing what you say, no matter how small, and holding on to it because it connects him to you. Most people can nod along in a conversation and hear the words you're saying, but when a man is emotionally invested, he's not just hearing you, he's listening. He's storing away the things that matter to you because they matter to him by extension. If you mention your favorite coffee order in passing, weeks later, he surprises you with it. If you once told him about a book that shaped your childhood, he remembers and might even pick up a copy for himself. If you share the name of a friend or family member, he recalls it and asks about them later. These gestures might appear small, but they are proof that he's paying attention not out of obligation, but out of genuine interest. This is especially powerful because it demonstrates that your words and your life leave an imprint on him. He doesn't just let conversations slip by. Instead, he takes pieces of who you are and carries them with him. That's emotional intimacy in action. It's not about dramatic declarations, but about these small, consistent acknowledgments that you matter. And it's not only about remembering things you explicitly emphasize. Sometimes it's about the subtler details. Maybe he notices how you like your space organized, or that you prefer quiet in the morning before your first cup of coffee. Maybe he catches on to the way your mood changes when you've had a stressful day. Even if you haven't said anything, he picks up on patterns, on nuances, on the little quirks that make you who you are. That level of awareness requires attention, and attention is one of the purest forms of affection. What's important to understand is that remembering details is not about perfection. He doesn't have to get everything right every time. What matters is the effort, the fact that he's showing you again and again that you matter enough for him to notice, recall, and act on the things that make you unique. That's what sets apart a man who is casually interested from a man who is emotionally connected. The former might listen, but the latter listens deeply because what you say resonates with him. And it's not only about memory, it's about intention. He remembers because he wants to. He doesn't want to let your words fade, because those words create a deeper understanding of you, and understanding you is what he desires. This is why when you tell him something, you don't have to repeat it multiple times, because in his heart, it's already noted. Over time, this builds trust. When you realize that he remembers what matters to you, you begin to feel more seen, more valued, more understood. That sense of being deeply known is what creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is the foundation for lasting love. When a man shows you that he not only notices the little things but treasures them, it's a sign that his feelings for you aren't just surface level. They are rooted in a genuine desire to connect with who you truly are. When a man begins to fall for you emotionally, one of the unmistakable signs is that he seeks consistent ways to include you in his future plans. This goes far beyond the casual talk of what to do on the weekend or where to grab dinner next. It's about weaving you into the bigger picture of his life. When he begins to emotionally invest, you'll notice that his language starts to shift from I to we. And suddenly, you're not just part of his present, you're part of the vision he's building for what's ahead. This doesn't always come with grand speeches about marriage or lifelong commitments. Often, it starts in the smaller ways. Maybe he mentions a concert happening months from now and casually says, we should go together. Maybe he talks about a holiday destination he's always wanted to see and says, you'd love it there. Maybe he's planning something simple, like a friend's birthday party or a family gathering, and he asks if you'd come with him. These aren't just invitations, they're signals that in his mind, he's not picturing his future moments without you in them. What makes this so significant is the difference between short-term attraction and long-term emotional connection. Someone who is only interested in the moment doesn't make a habit of including you in what's next. Their focus is on today, maybe tomorrow, but rarely beyond that. A man who's falling for you emotionally begins to imagine you in contexts that stretch further down the road. His instinct isn't to keep you separate from his world, but to blend you into it. He wants to see what life feels like with you alongside him, not just in private moments, but in shared experiences that shape memories. It's also telling in how he speaks about his goals. If he's truly connecting emotionally, he won't just talk about his ambitions in isolation. He'll start phrasing them in ways that consider you. For example, instead of saying, I want to travel more, he might say, I can't wait for us to explore new places together. Instead of saying, I'll probably move for work, he might add, but I'd want to figure out how we could make that work. These subtle shifts in language reveal that he's not only thinking of his path, but is already mentally factoring you into it. This desire to include you isn't just about the fun and exciting parts either. It shows up in the everyday decisions too. He might ask for your input when he's making choices about his career, his finances, or his personal projects. He wants to hear your perspective, not just because he values your opinion, but because he sees you as someone who will be affected by those choices. That's a sign of deep emotional connection, considering your place in the decisions that shape his life. And when he introduces you to his world, whether it's his friends, his family, or his routines, that's another way of bringing you into his future. It's his way of saying, you belong here. By letting you into the circles and spaces that matter to him, he's showing that he's not only imagining a life with you, but actively building it piece by piece. What's powerful about this is that it shows commitment without needing to label it immediately. It's not about making promises he can't keep, but about consistently showing you that he envisions you beside him. Over time, those small gestures and words form a pattern of emotional investment, of intention, and of a desire to create something lasting with you. And when a man begins to include you in his future, it's one of the clearest signs that his heart is no longer just in the moment, but genuinely reaching forward with you in mind. When a man is falling for you emotionally, one of the most vulnerable and telling signs is that he shows you his true self without the mask he usually wears in the world. This isn't about the version of him that's polished, charming, or perfectly put together. It's about the version he rarely lets others see, the one that carries flaws, scars, doubts, and the softer emotions he's been taught to hide. When he begins to trust you with his vulnerability, it's because he feels safe enough to let you see beyond the surface. Most men grow up with the message that strength means never showing weakness. They're told to push through pain, to keep emotions bottled up, to always appear in control. So, when a man allows himself to step outside of that armor with you, it means something profound. It means he values the connection he has with you more than he values protecting his ego. It means he wants you to see who he really is, not just the parts that are easy to admire. You might notice it in quiet moments when he admits he's had a tough day and doesn't try to play it off. Instead of saying, I'm fine, he opens up and tells you he feels overwhelmed, uncertain, or even afraid. You might notice it when he shares a story from his past that still affects him, something he doesn't tell just anyone. Or it might show up when he asks for your support, not because he can't handle things alone, but because he actually wants to lean on you. That willingness to lean, to expose his inner struggles, is a strong indicator that he's emotionally invested. Vulnerability also reveals itself in how he expresses affection. Maybe he tells you how much he misses you without worrying about sounding too needy. Maybe he lets you see the softer, playful, or even childlike side of himself that most people never experience. Maybe he shows you his insecurities, not as a test, but as a way of saying, "This is all of me, not just the confident exterior." In those moments, what he's really saying is that he trusts you to accept him fully. This is important because emotional connection is not built on perfection. It's built on honesty. When a man shows you his vulnerability, he's offering you the most human part of himself. He's saying, "I don't have to pretend around you." That is one of the clearest signs that he not only desires you, but desires to build a relationship rooted in authenticity. What makes this even more powerful is that vulnerability is risky. By showing you his true self, he's giving you the ability to reject or hurt him in a way others can't. Yet he chooses to take that risk with you. That choice reflects how deeply he feels. It's not about weakness, it's about courage. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to open up in spite of it. You may also see this in how he handles mistakes. Instead of covering them up or making excuses, he admits when he's wrong. He shows you that he doesn't need to be perfect to be loved by you. That admission of imperfection, that openness to being seen as flawed, is another way he allows vulnerability to deepen your bond. And in the bigger picture, vulnerability creates intimacy. It allows the two of you to connect on a level that physical attraction alone can never reach. When he trusts you with his true self, it becomes an invitation for you to do the same. That shared honesty, that mutual opening, is what transforms connection into something lasting and real. When a man is falling for you emotionally, one of the strongest indicators is that he invests effort into resolving conflicts instead of avoiding them. This might seem like a simple point, but in relationships it makes all the difference. Anyone can enjoy the easy moments, the fun dates, and the light-hearted conversations. But the true test of emotional connection shows up when tension arises. If a man truly desires you emotionally, he won't just disappear when things get tough or shut down when misunderstandings occur. Instead, he will lean in, engage, and work through challenges because the relationship matters more to him than his temporary comfort. Avoidance is easy. It takes little effort to walk away when there's disagreement, to stay silent instead of addressing the issue, or to distract oneself rather than confront uncomfortable emotions. Many people do this when they aren't emotionally invested. They'd rather preserve their own peace than risk the discomfort of working things out. But when a man genuinely values you, he understands that unresolved conflict erodes trust and intimacy. That's why he makes the choice to stay in the conversation, even if it's hard, even if it requires vulnerability, and even if it challenges his pride. You'll notice this not just in what he says, but in how he shows up. Instead of letting arguments spiral into distance, he looks for common ground. Instead of turning disagreements into battles where one person wins and the other loses, he seeks understanding. He doesn't come to prove a point, but to protect the connection. That shift from winning an argument to preserving the relationship is a sign of deep emotional desire. It shows that his priority isn't being right, but being close to you. It might appear in subtle ways. Maybe he circles back after a disagreement to check in, even if hours have passed, because he doesn't want lingering tension between you. Maybe he asks questions to better understand your perspective, even if it challenges his own. Maybe he admits when he's wrong, apologizes sincerely, and makes an effort to change behavior that hurt you. These actions may not always be easy for him, but they highlight his willingness to prioritize growth over avoidance. Another important aspect of this is consistency. Anyone can apologize once, but a man who's emotionally invested will continue to show you through his actions that he wants to repair and strengthen the relationship. He doesn't sweep issues under the rug because he knows that ignoring them only creates distance. Instead, he faces them with patience and commitment, understanding that true closeness is built not in the absence of conflict, but in how two people move through it together. This effort also reveals a sense of respect. By working through conflicts instead of dismissing them, he's essentially saying that your feelings are valid, your perspective matters, and the bond between you is worth protecting. He doesn't view your emotions as an inconvenience to be managed, but as an important part of the relationship to be honored. That respect is what makes emotional connection sustainable. It creates a foundation where both people feel heard and valued. And this willingness to resolve conflict is not about perfection. There will still be moments of frustration, miscommunication, or misunderstanding. But the difference lies in his response. Instead of letting those moments create walls, he chooses to build bridges. Instead of running from discomfort, he chooses to face it with you. That decision, again and again, is what signals that his emotional investment is real. Because, at the end of the day, conflict isn't what destroys relationships. Neglect is, avoidance is, indifference is. But a man who puts in the effort to resolve, repair, and grow shows that his connection with you is not something he's willing to risk losing. That persistence, that commitment to working through the hard parts, is one of the clearest signs that he desires you not just in passing, but on the deepest emotional level.